Hello, I'm Nancy Greenberg, Cultural Arts and Adult Director at the Worcester JCC and a member of the City of Worcester Commission on Elder Affairs. It is my pleasure to introduce Matthew Klein, who will be demonstrating how to make potato pancakes or potato latkes, a traditional food eaten during the 8 days of Hanukkah. I am lucky enough to be the taste tester. These are a real treat. Wishing everyone a happy holiday season. So good.
Hi, I'm Matthew Klein, and I'm here to talk about and teach you how to make potato latkes. Potato latkes are potato pancakes, small ones. A little bit about my background. As you can see here, this is a restaurant range with a wok unit. I've been cooking Chinese food for many years. This range dates back to '85. Chinese was my first love, but I've also gotten into Mexican, Moroccan, European cuisines of French, Italian, and Spanish, and Indian also. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Jewish food, and the Jewish holidays are an opportunity to cook Jewish food, and potato latkes are remarkable. If you want to learn more about my cooking, you can go to Instagram at Matthew Klein Cooks, Matthew with 2 T's, K-L-I-N-E. Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the celebration, commemoration of the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem over 2,000 years ago when the Maccabee Jews went in and were able to defeat the Greeks. They had enough oil to commemorate that for one day, but it lasted 8 days. And here's the menorah with lighting of 8 different candles over 8 days. This is a traditional menorah. And here is a menorah from one of my mother's friends that is shows you shtetl life in Eastern Europe, Ashkenazi Jews. Some of the other ritual objects of Hanukkah are gelt, which is money, but these are chocolate coins, and the dreidels are also used. The most important thing about Hanukkah and potato latkes is oil. The fact that the oil lasted 8 days is a miracle of the oil, and so we cook with oil. Latkes are cooked with oil. In fact, latkes come from a word that means small pancake, and it's derived from Greek, which has to do with oil and oily substance. Okay? In Israel, where there are more Sephardic Jews and Mizrahi Jews, it's typically jelly donuts that are cooked in oil. Hi, I'm going to cover making potato latkes, the ingredients and equipment you'll need, the prep, the cooking, the pan frying of the latkes themselves. I'll encourage you to cook in advance because it takes time to make latkes, and there's ways to make them in advance. Keep them in the oven where it keeps them warm and still crispy. And the last, we'll talk a little bit about various kind of condiments. I'll introduce you to 2 condiments that you could make: apple compote and horseradish labneh. And I'll provide you recipes. Just to let you know, there will be a resource page that will include recipes, including recipes for potato latkes. So I'll read off of the actual recipe in terms of the ingredients and go through them with you right now. First, you'll need, and let me first tell you that this yields about 15 pancakes, enough for maybe 4 to 6 people in a larger meal. People laugh at me when I say that. Latkes are addictive. Chances are each person's going to want to eat 3 or 4, and you should plan based on that, so just be aware of it. To give an example, last year I had 20 people here, and I ended up making 80 latkes, and that took quite a while. Okay, you're going to need, for these 15 latkes, for like 3 or 4 people, maybe 5, 2 pounds of russet potatoes. Now, you should wash these under water. I like to make them with the skin. That's totally up to you. You'll see that I leave it unpeeled. That's if you want to peel it, then use a peeler and peel it. Okay, and you can see we have a peeler right here. Second item, 1 medium yellow onion, okay? This will need to be unpeeled, and it's going to be grated also, okay? So that's an essential element. And you're going to be adding 2 eggs. So it says here, 2 eggs, whisk. You're going to be doing that. You're going to be using oil, obviously, to fry. I recommend a vegetable oil. This is peanut oil. You can certainly use canola oil, safflower, sunflower, or grapeseed oil. What's important here is the oil is a high smoking oil. I would not use olive oil. That will burn at the kind of temperatures we're working with when we fry the latkes. Another option, which was used by Ashkenazi Jews when they first started to make potato latkes in the 19th century, was schmaltz, okay? Poultry fat. And certainly chicken fat, duck fat, goose fat, those will work too. In fact, I'm sure they'd be terrific tasting. And then the last thing here I have is salt and pepper. Okay. Now, there are a lot of variations and options you can do while doing this. I mentioned, for example, adding 1/4 cup of matzah meal, panko, breadcrumbs, or flour. You'll see that in a lot of traditional latke recipes. That's used to sort of hold together the latke itself. I don't believe it's necessary. I don't even think it enhances the flavor, but if you want to do it, try it, see what you think. As far as what you put in the latke, you'll see that I actually have a very unusual option here. I actually talk about using a pound of celeriac or celery root. This is celeriac. Now, if you can find this at your supermarket, consider using it. I should add that Joe Nathan, who is a prominent Jewish cookbook author, has recipes for potato latkes that include celery root or celeriac. Typically, what I would do with this is peel this and use maybe 1/4 of this and also grate it and add it to the mixture. You could also, besides celery root, there's other options. You could also do it with sweet potato. You could do it with carrots, zucchini. Some people even add cheese. And those are all options also. Equipment. The most important piece of equipment is what you're going to grade with. This is what's called a box grater. Looks like a box, it's got 4 sides. I use this coarse grading side. Be aware there are other ways to grade. This is finer, this is really coarse, and this actually is pretty fine too. This is perfect for coarse grading. You'll probably get pieces that long when it comes to the potato. When it comes to grating the onion, they actually end up being shorter. But this is the ideal way of grading. If it's a plain grater, in other words, just one side like this, try to find one that has this coarse grade here. Another option is to use a food processor with a grating attachment. Some people, by the way, like to puree their latkes, so that could be an option too. I prefer the coarse grating in the way I'm showing you here. Okay, so you will be using a box grater, and that's a big deal. If you're peeling, you'll use a peeler. You may need to use a knife. If you're going to whisk eggs, you have 2 options. You can use a whisk here, or you can use this fork. Now, another item's over here, and I'll explain this. You're going to need to be squeezing water from the grated potatoes and onions, and there's many ways to do it. You can wrap it in a towel, literally, like this, and literally just tightly squeeze it till water drains out. You can use a cheesecloth to do the same thing, wired mesh here, or a colander. What's important here is you want the grated potato and onions to have as little water as possible so that when you make the latkes, they're really crisp. Over here, we have pans. I mentioned an electric skillet. That would be great. Be aware, the size of your pan is going to have an impact on how quickly you can make the latkes. This particular pan, 13 inches, this pan is 8 inches. The 13-inch one, I can do 6 or 7 latkes at once. Here, probably 4. Given that it's going to take approximately 15 minutes to make a batch of 6 or 7 or 3 or 4, it helps to have the larger pan. You will need a spatula. I have 2 here. Spatulas to both flatten the latkes and to also turn them over after you've fried them for 5 or 6 minutes on one side and then to the other side. And last but not least, you can put paper towels down as you take the latkes out and on the counter to absorb some of the oil. The other important element is a baking sheet and a rack. Okay? And the reason this is important is if you're making the latkes in advance, you can put the latkes on here and put in the oven at 200, and they'll do just fine for 3 or 4 hours and still be crisp. Okay. Prep. I'll read you the steps in the recipe and go through it with you. Okay, it says grate the potatoes, onion, and in this case celeriac, using a box grater or food processor with a grating blade. Okay, so here I've already done this. This is the grated potato and onion. Step number 2, prep. Put the grated ingredients in a mesh strainer or towel or cheesecloth, and squeeze out the liquid. Once drained, put it back in the bowl. Okay, so here I am. Here's a strainer. I'll do it this way. There's many different ways to do it. But the important thing is to get as much liquid out as possible. And over here, you can see the liquid. If I press down, a lot of this water is coming out. The more you get out, the crisper the latkes are going to be. Put it back in the bowl. By the way, there are other ways to do this. One recommended method is to have a bowl of ice water. Put the grated potatoes and onions in that as you grate them, and then pull out the grated potato and onions and squeeze them in a towel or with a strainer to get all the liquid out, and put that back in the bowl actually. Let the bowl sit for 20 minutes and pour out the water. What you will be left with is potato starch in the bottom, which you can add back into the potatoes and onions so it's starchy and it holds together. Okay, that's step number 2, removing the water. Step number 3, add the eggs and mix, okay? So here's the whisked eggs. I'm going to add them, and I'm going to mix them. If you're using breadcrumbs, panko, matzah meal, you can add it at this time too. Once you have this done, you have finished with prep, and your next step is going to be cooking in the frying pan. Okay, we've done prep, and we're now going into the cooking. I have added basically 1/8 of an inch of peanut oil to this pan, and I've applied heat. The instructions here are heat your electric frying pan or griddle or pan to 360 to 375, and if you have the thermometer, you can certainly check it out to see whether you're in that area. Otherwise, what you can do also is take a little bit, and you can hear the sizzle, okay? That's an indication that you're ready to do the next step. You're going to take basically a spoonful, almost 2 tablespoons, and in the palm of your hand, you're going to form the pancake. And put it in here, like that. Okay, that's the first one. You can keep doing these. It says form into it says on the thing about 3 minutes, 3 inches, I mean. That's fine. Here we go, second one. Okay, and you might want to press it down like this if it seems a little bit high. Third one. And you're going to have to play it by ear. This is all very subjective doing this, okay? 3. 4. 11. I can do one more. go. Okay. So do about 5 minutes on each side. You have to play it by ear. Turn it over, do the other side. We'll come back to you in 1 minute, very shortly after those are cooked. This is what the latkes look like after I flip them and they're cooking on the other side. I'm about a minute away from actually removing them, but this is a good shot to give you some idea of how much you should do in cooking them. Our latkes are done. I'm going to put, you can put them on paper towels if you'd like. I'm going to put them on a rack that's on a baking sheet. Those are done. What you would then be doing in cooking is you would start with your next batch of 5 or 6 or 7, how many you can get in there, and continue cooking and putting them on the rack as you do it. Be aware, and I do say this in my instructions here, that add additional oil if needed. If the oil seems burnt or there's an accumulation of leftover burnt pieces, wash your griddle or pan and continue with a clean griddle or pan and new oil. And I guarantee you that after 2 batches or 3, you'll probably end up having to pour out the old oil and maybe even clean the pan and put in new oil to start again, okay? Cooking in advance, okay? I recommend, because if you have your guests waiting for you at the table, and I've done that, it's a long wait, you know, to take these and put them in an oven that's at 200. I did it last year. They were in there for like 3 hours or 4 hours, and they were great. They were still crispy. People loved them. That worked. I basically went from 9 in the morning to actually almost noontime to do 80 latkes, and they were terrific. Another option that's been talked about is you could refrigerate or freeze. I don't know how good that is. The literature on it is all over the place, okay? But I do know that using an oven that's 200 degrees will work for 3 or 4 hours. Last thing I want to talk about is condiments, okay? Condiments can be as simple as thyme, marjoram, parsley. You could provide applesauce or sour cream. And I should tell you, sour cream is popular because there's a story sort of associated with Hanukkah about a heroine, Judith, who plied an enemy general with cheese and wine and found a way to cut off his head and kill him. And therefore, for Hanukkah, milk products are very much a part of the meal also. I have 2 recipes here. One for an apple compote, which is related to applesauce. And this is sort of a French version of an applesauce. But you're going to get some apples. You're going to be cooking them and stirring over high heat until they break down, and adding sugar, lemon, and lime, vanilla, and spices. Also, for the horseradish labneh, and labneh is just simply a yogurt from the Middle East. I typically will use something like Vahi yogurt, and you can use prepared horseradish that's been drained, or you can get a horseradish and grate it and add it to it. But there is also this recipe for that, okay? And that sort of completes what I have to say. I want to wish you, everyone, a happy Hanukkah holiday season, and may you have much pleasure with your latkes feast.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Richard Rudnick, Rabbi and Chaplain at the Jewish Healthcare Center and Eisenberg Assisted Living. I'm happy to be able to present a film you're going to see that is of an event at the Eisenberg where our chef, Maiwa Son, and I made jelly donuts, sufganiyot, a food that helps to celebrate Hanukkah. We're happy to have this opportunity to partner with the Worcester Senior Center to bring this moment to you.
Hello, I'm a television producer, at least I used to be, and I love donuts. So to be able to produce something about donuts for an old-fashioned, old-time TV producer, what fun.
And today, I have the honor to join together with our chef, Maiwa Son, to make jelly donuts for Hanukkah. Now, people ask, why jelly donuts for Hanukkah? So Hanukkah celebrates the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem about 2,200 years ago, after it was retaken by a Jewish army led by the Maccabees. And when they got to the temple, part of rededicating the temple was lighting the light, the menorah that is meant to burn all the time at the temple. But the temple had been totally desecrated by the Greek armies who were there before, and they could only find enough oil for the light for one day. But they had the faith, and they went ahead and lit the light with that oil. It burned for the 8 days it took them to prepare more oil. And so the miracle of Hanukkah is all about oil. Given that, the foods for Hanukkah are all about oil. So we eat fried foods, hence jelly donuts. Fried by Maiwa in 350-degree oil. Here it goes. This is a yeast dough, right?
Yes.
And the oil is bubbling and the dough is rising more. And the timer is ticking down. So this dough, because it has to rise, it's yeast, was actually made yesterday by Maiwa.
We're here at the Eisenberg Assisted Living Kitchen. We're going to make jelly donuts for Hanukkah. And the first step is to make the dough and let it rise. And I will walk you through the ingredients. So these ingredients make about 32 donuts, 2/3 cups of butter, 6 large egg yolks, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 cup of warm skim milk, 2/3 cups of sugar, 1 cup of warm water mixed with a 1/2 ounce of dry active yeast, and 6 cups of flour. So once we get all the ingredients measured out, we'll load them all into the mixing bowl. So we'll start off with the butter. The 6 egg yolks. The 6 cups of flour. The active yeast. The 1 cup of warm milk. 2/3 cups of sugar. And 2 teaspoons of salt. So now we're going to take our ingredients in a mixing bowl and bring it over to the mixer. So we have a mixing bowl hooked onto the Hobart commercial mixer. This is our dough hook. We use this to mix the dough. And I'm going to put it together. Then you want to close this. Lift it up. You want to put on a medium speed and let it mix for about 5 to 8 minutes. So the noise that you're hearing is common when you're mixing any kind of dough. It's kneading all the ingredients together. And this happens when you're making pizza dough or any dough from scratch. Now that the dough has mixed for 8 minutes, we're going to take the mixing bowl off and bring it over to a safe place to let it rise. Now that we have removed the mixing bowl from the mixer and removed the dough from the dough hook, we have the bowl in a safe place for it to be covered and let it rise for about an hour. Once the dough had a chance to rise, we will roll it out on a clean surface. We use a 2-step process to clean the surface. Step 1 is hot soapy water solution, and step 2 is a sanitizer solution. So we'll take some flour, put it on the surface here. And you also want to take some flour put on the sheet pan where we're going to put the dough that we put for the donuts. So here's the dough. I'm just going to knead it in. So I'm kneading the dough until I'm able to stretch it out and roll it out. Then use the dough cutter. Just cut it in half. Just one to the side here. Then you go roll it out. And you want at least a 1/2 inch thick. to get a nice rectangle shape. So once you roll it out, nice and smooth, you can just use your hand and shape it into a rectangle. Now you're going to take, you use a biscuit cutter or a cookie cutter. I just took one of this cup because it's a round, same shape. If you don't have a biscuit cutter, you just press it down into the dough, and then you make your donut shape. Take the dough out and place it on your sheet. And you repeat the steps until you have gotten all the dough that you have left over. So once I'm done cutting the first bunch, I'm going to add the dough back into the top that we cut and do the same steps. So now we're done rolling up the dough and cutting it up into donuts. What they look like after you cut them out.
That looks nice.
So this is the donut.
Nice, yeah.
We fried it a minute and a half on each side in a deep fry on 350.
So before filling with jelly, we make a small hole in the donut. We're using a soda straw. Stick it in, move it around a little, and there you go. This was my invention.
And then with a disposable pastry bag. See how it goes right in? And you squeeze the jelly in there. There you go.
So it's mizonot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei mizonot.
Amen.
Very good.
Ooh,
I know.
my one.
Good?
Show the way you do it.
There's your hole.
Yep,
There's your jelly.
you filled it up.
No, this isn't filled yet. You got to fill it yourself.
I have it self-filled.
Hold it. You hold the donut. This is a two-man fill.
Would you like to fill your donut?
Better hold the donut than stand on the wing, right?
Or are you gonna want your own donut?
He doesn't know that story.
Ready?
There you go. Okay.
Looks good.
Yeah. Go to it.
I know you can take your mask off, Herb.
Hey, hey.
Right there, okay?
Mm.
Or you don't want to touch it? It's not raspberry.
Just the glove.
Just the glove.
Does it test the taste test?
There we go.
How'd we do?
Excellent. Yeah.
See, there's your hole. You don't want a donut. Okay, that'll get your sugar up. You're gonna fill your donut?
I don't want a donut. Anybody else a cup of coffee?
This is sufganiyah.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That's right.
So and they're really, in Israel, this is like, I read somewhere that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, buys something like 600,000 sufganiyot during Hanukkah.
Really? Oh, yeah. Very good.
What they're using is weapons.
Herb, say that again.
Very good.
Herb, say that again.
Did they use them as weapons?
Very good, Herb. Very good. Oh, boy. Very good.
Spoken like a true
Put a
veteran.
little gunpowder in there and use it as grenades.
Oh, boy.
This looks and tastes delicious. Donuts and coffee are a great snack.
Thank you.
Now we'll see whether Dunkin' Donuts is going to be worried about us.
Better than Dunkin' Donuts.
We have nothing against Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay. Perfect. Again,
Okay.
better than Dunkin' Donuts. Wonderful. We are not going to compete with Dunkin' Donuts. Fantastic.
We have nothing against Dunkin' Donuts.
Terrific, terrific, terrific donuts. Best I've ever had.
Scrumptious, fantastic. And you did it yourself? We are not going to compete with Dunkin' Donuts.
This donut was so wonderful. I went out and got fresh flowers for the chef.
Good job, girls and boys.
But we do like them.
Very good donuts, and it was such fun doing it.
This donut, unfortunately, I think is better than Dunkin' Donuts. Not that Dunkin' Donuts isn't the best.
Really good for Hanukkah.
These are wonderful donuts, and everybody that worked so hard in making them did a fantastic job.
Very good. Anytime.
You should make more of them. Just love it.
This is best donut I've had in a long time. It's delicious.
It was delicious. It really was. I like the taste. Delicious.
They're delicious, very tasty, and easy to make.
Just enjoying the whole thing, seeing everybody smacking their lips.
You can see that with a mask on?
Oh, yeah, my eyes are open.
Very nice. Very good. Better than good. Delicious.
This is Maiwa's first time on camera, and I think she was a little camera shy, but she agreed to do this for us. So let's give it up for Maiwa.
Okay.
And how about for Rabbi Richard?
How about the cameraman?
Oh, thank you. So we were wondering where to put Maiwa's Star of Fame, and Paula in the kitchen suggested that we do them right out here on the patio. We put Maiwa's, Rabbi Richard's, just like Hollywood. You don't want that on TV, do you?
No. Excellent, excellent. I haven't had a better donut in my life.
Great job, Maiwa, Richard. This was wonderful. Everybody loved it. They were delicious.
So Maiwa, thank you for letting us use your dining room as a dining room, as a social hall, as a TV production studio to complement the times we've used it as a concert hall, musical venue, etc. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Weren't you there?
From the videographer, happy Hanukkah, everyone.
I could not have done a better job with the donuts, but I sure could have done a better job with the production.
Happy Hanukkah to the whole senior center.
And you're missing out if you don't try them, especially on Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah, Worcester Senior Center.
Always something happening at Eisenberg.
Thank you for coming and watching our show. It's been such fun.
Happy Hanukkah from all.
Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, Worcester Senior Center.
Happy Hanukkah to Worcester.
Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Happy Hanukkah to the world.
When you say Happy Hanukkah to the world, you're wishing for light, more light into the world.
Right.
You did.
It's Ruthie Lonstein saying Happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish friends.
Happy Hanukkah.
This is a wonderful party we're enjoying.
Happy Hanukkah, Worcester Center. I wish you the best.
Happy Hanukkah, Worcester.
Thank you, Eisenberg, and thank you, Senior Center.
So I hope all of you looking have enjoyed this half as much as those of us who are here, both enjoying the donuts, the experience together of making them, and this early start of bringing in the holidays we celebrate this time of year, all of which celebrate bringing light into the world. May we all see more light in the days to come than we have in the days behind us.
Hey, Ann, you heading to Dunkin' Donuts?
I don't have to.